Good afternoon, everyone. I think there was some discussion that was happening a while back regarding tea and coffee. I think it's the right time to get tea and coffee post-lunch. Thank you very much. The earlier presenter actually gave me a good segue to kind of talk about what I would want to present. And the good part is he spoke a lot about data, and I would also be talking a lot about data, and also about what Snowflake does, right, as an organization. So before we get started, I would want everybody to read through this, and we'll have a quiz afterwards. I'm just kidding. This is just a slide to talk about the fact that I might just go ahead and talk about new feature functionality from Snowflake, which are under consideration, is being built right now. And you should kind of read through what is available in Snowflake today to be able to make that purchase decision. Now, as an organization, who are we, right? So we have been in business of data and AI for the last 12 years. We have close to about 12,000 customers globally. Close to about 800 odd Fortune 2000 customers use Snowflake today across various use cases, from bringing in data to also using that for data and AI or the ML applications. And currently, there are close to about 4,000 odd customers globally that have adopted the ML or the AI capabilities that we have. As a matter of fact, we have close to about 200 plus customers that have been using Snowflake as a platform or a vendor for the last, I think, close to about 5-6 years. This is just a snapshot of customers that we serve specifically around retail, right? And I'll be more than happy post this presentation to talk about any specific one that you would want to, talk about. If you see, you have customers ranging from shoe manufacturer to all the way to Instacart, which is kind of the Swiggy or the Zomato. As a matter of fact, the inspiration for Zomato came from Instacart. In terms of retail, what really do we do, right? So, as the presenter before me spoke about geospatial data. Now, that's one data. He also spoke about the fact that there is enough and more data that each organization is generating, right? Which could be around inventory data, which could be data of sales that you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. The first thing that we do is allow you to bring that data, whatever sources that you have, right? It could be your ERPs, it could be your CRMs, it could be point of sale, etc. Bring off all of that data into a single platform. I don't know how many of you kind of know in terms of what happens when you bring in data from different systems. There has to be some logic that needs to be put in to be able to match that data. A CRM might call a customer, but a ERP might just call it something else, right? So that entire process of refining that data, stitching that data together, trying to make sense out of the data is something that the Snowflake platform does. And then, of course, we look at output or outcomes, right? After you bring in data from CRM, ERP, and point of sale, you could look at doing things like optimization of pricing. You could actually go ahead and do something like personalization. You could do customer 360, understanding your customer better, and so on and so forth. While you do all of that, what I have been referring to is your internal data. But we also have the ability of you being able to bring in data from any other third-party partners as well, right? Which could be something like a AccuWeather, which brings in the data for the weather. Or it could be data coming from geospatial partners like the one that was talking prior to me, right? So you can bring in that data, merge that data with the data that you already have, the data that you're generating from SAP or your CRM, etc., and start making sense out of it. Now, if I were to go ahead and get into AI per se, the AI bandwagon typically started in 2022, right? ChatGPT released something. Everybody wanted that app. Nobody knew as to how to use it, but it was the most fanciest thing in the world, and everybody started downloading it. 2023 is when organizations started looking at art of possible. What can I do with this new shiny toy that has come into the market, right? And then eventually moved on to POCs, doing some kind of a work on top of it. 2025 is where people started implementing use cases on AI, right? And end of 2025, the CFO of these organizations would get up and ask questions to the IT guy saying, okay, great, you implemented something, but what is the ROI of that? So we're getting to that phase wherein the maturity cycle has been really, really quick. Now, with Snowflake, what do, right? We give you a single platform to, one, bring in all types of data. It could be structured data. It could be unstructured or semi-structured. When I say unstructured, it could be data available on pamphlets. It could be handwritten notes, et cetera, et cetera. The second thing that we do is allow you to actually go ahead and put AI ML capabilities on top of it. Now, typically today, if you were to go ahead and use AI capability and look at any of the large language models available in the market, you would have to go ahead and push your data outside your boundaries of your organization to be able to do it. That's not the case with Snowflake. The data is something that resides in Snowflake, and you bring that large language model to be able to use it. And then, of course, very important piece to that is around governance, right? How do you make sure that your data is secure? Nobody else gets to access that data, barring, of course, your competitors, right, who would want to get more insight from your data, right? How do you govern all of that? And then, of course, deploy that data, right? Use that AI capability, right, in terms of creating application, creating feeds that would actually feed to your, foot on the street, right? Or store managers, giving them insight in terms of what else can you sell? How do you combine two products, etc. Now, if I, specifically speak about industry trends per se on AI, there are a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. One is the most important piece is workforce retooling. You have thousands of people, at the store level, somebody managing the inventory, etc. Now, if they were to interact with AI models, they really need to understand what questions to ask, right? So, before any organization actually goes ahead and jumps on the bandwagon of AI, they need to go ahead and make sure that the people that would actually interact with those applications understand what questions to ask. Second is having a data foundation. We have a saying at Snowflake which says there is no AI strategy without a data strategy. So it is important for you to be able to do that. The third thing is traditional analytics, right? Warehouse optimization, supply chain optimization, things like that, kind of people are going back to that basic of saying, can I use ML? I don't need an AI application to do it. Can I use machine learning to be able to perform those use cases? So as an organization, you need to kind of separate and say which piece would be solved by what solution or what technology. Then, I'm not very sure if you've heard about something called agentic or robotic AI. Effectively, what it allows you to do is break big activities that you have into smaller chunks and then use specific platform or technology to be able to solve for it. Just to give you an example, let's say you want to create a chatbot. You can do that with a large language model. But let's say on that chatbot, you allow customers to upload, let's say, a jacket and say, of course, me dressing, I ask my wife every time in terms of what goes well with the other thing. But of course, you can have a recommendation engine, right? That recommendation engine would work on machine learning. And then, of course, customers have come to an expectation of getting personalized recommendations, etc., not only online, but offline as well. They want, when I walk into a store, people should know me, people should know my preference, and now you have the data to be able to do that activity as well. One other key consideration, in terms of when you're looking at getting onto the AI bandwagon is technology, in terms of what technology are you using, ecosystem, and the business goal that you have in mind, right, that you would want to solve. And that's where Snowflake comes in, wherein you can ingest data, transform that data, govern that data, and get analysis out of it, right? And then, of course, just to touch upon one more critical factor, which is 80% of data that is getting unlocked right now is data which was earlier not available to organization, which could be tender documents, which could be real estate leases, HR documents, etc., etc. There are technology available right now which would allow you to bring that unstructured data, make it structured, make it queryable. So you have to be very careful when you're actually going ahead and getting into that AI domain, wherein you would not only work on structured available data, but also start looking at unstructured data that is available. And then there are LLMs that allow you to do that, including Snowflake. Two use cases that I wanted to quickly touch upon. One is, of course, I'm into small probably, but in terms of retailers, we can do things around personalization, product category, loyalty management or retention. On consumer goods side, it could be around inventory management or price elasticity models. All of this is something that you can do on Snowflake itself. Quick two customer story. One that I wanted to talk about is for a shoe company, ASICS. They bring in data from multiple sources, right? So on the left-hand side, if you see, you would have data sources like Salesforce, SAP, etc., transactional data. Then they have an app, right, which is a fitness app, which also brings in data. And then they have third-party players and marketing applications that bring in data. What they do is bring all of that data together, create a customer 360, and use that intelligence to be able to power all communication that go out to their customers. Similarly, another example of a company called Bears. They make a lot of medicine which is available over the counters. Now, one of the things that they were struggling with was they had enough data. They had a lot of people looking at that data through applications like Power BI. They wanted to solve for it and give access to people to be able to ask questions in natural language and get results. Why not losing the context of their organizational information, right? That's where Snowflake allowed them to create a chatbot that had relevance to their data. If you ask anything to a chat GPT today, it might not be able to give you a correct answer if it is pertaining to your business or your data. Thank you. With that, I'll say thank you. If there are any questions, happy to take it offline.